What's good, family? This is Kevin Orris. Welcome to a Facebook Live interview podcast. I'm bringing on Tariq Amawi today. It's going to be a great interview. If you are familiar with decentralization, leadership, creativity, the creator economy, art, community, all the things, we're moving into a post-centralized, post-scarcity, and post-zero-sum world. And I don't know if you're ready for that or you're ready for what that might look like, but we're out here, we're building it. Whether you like it or not, it's coming fast. So this is going to be an amazing interview. If you're watching live, type in the comments. If you're watching on the replay, type in replay and one word of what you're grateful for today. All right. Third time's the charm.
Third time's a charm.
Audio good? No echo?
Yeah, all good from my side.
Oh, sweet. Okay. So fun facts for Facebook Lives for posterity. Both people need to be on mobile. Headphones are good. And yeah, pray to Mark Zuckerberg and make an offering. Maybe burn some incense to the data mines if you want it to work. So classic. Well, brother, so good to have you.
Free.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
sweet.
And charging. Wow, getting advanced.
There we go. There we go. Well, awesome, man. As I was saying before, I really appreciate your work and I've been following you for a while. And I'd love for you to share just a little bit for the people that maybe don't know you for posterity here. What you're about, what your main interests are, a little bit of your abridged backstory.
Yeah, so I would describe myself as like a multilateral creative. Ever since I was 1.5 years old, I was holding a pencil and drawing and doodling, and then I was writing, and by the time I was 8, I was writing poetry. By the time I was 14, I was winning national writing competitions and art competitions. And so I have a very like traditional creative background, like with paints and with pens and with writing and things like that. And then somewhere along the way, it kind of transitioned into slam poetry. It transitioned into TED Talks. It transitioned into using my voice and being on think tanks and things like that to help people with acute creative problem solving within their businesses, within their companies, restructure their brand, realign their message, figure out why something is not resonating with their audience, all of that kind of stuff. Lots of plant medicine somewhere along the way, which really facilitated a lot of the conscious awakening and a lot of the opening up to more of what life is about and being of service rather than simply focused on gain and what's in it for me. It became what's in it for we. And I would say over the last 5 months really has been the shift towards decentralization. Like before that, I didn't really know what NFTs were or what decentralization was. It's actually very, very new, but I think I've been positioned where I'm at because of my creative abilities, and then I kind of like learned the technological side just to kind of get up to speed and figure out, okay, what are we creating within? What landscape, what paradigm are we creating within?
Right on. I love that. So it sounds like creativity and the micro of like the skills of creativity and also the macro as like a perspective and worldview has been a big part of your life. And I love that. I was actually very much the same. It sounds like my own story where I was super into drawing and painting, and I was always a great listener of music. I didn't become a musician. I'm a vocalist, but I was obsessed with all that stuff as a kid, and then kind of got into the business. Like, all right, you need to do something in the world, and then come to find out as an entrepreneur, actually, it's the most sought after thing, right? Creativity itself. So, I'm curious, just quickly, like, what was one of like the most epic stories or most epic moments where you could blow someone's mind, consulting or coaching around like a creative, like reframe or a shift in business, let's say?
I mean, there's been a number of different situations. Like, for example, most recently, I had a coaching client who, I find this to be quite a prevalent theme is a lot of people don't price themselves really based on the value they bring. They price themselves based on their self-worth. And so a lot of people are underpricing their genius, underpricing their zone of expertise. And actually, if you price yourself properly, then not only will you love what you do so much more, but you'll find people who respect what you do so much more. and you kind of sift through the people who are like just tourists, and you find the participants, you find the people who really want the change, not just those who like the idea of change. But one of the most epic stories, I might have shared this before, but this is not like a client transformation. This is my own transformation. So this was, I don't know, maybe back 12, 13 years, I don't know, something like that. I was working full time at PC World selling computers, wearing a purple uniform every day, and then I had just discovered like manifestation, law of attraction. And I realized that the stuck record that was playing in my head was, I don't want to be here every day. I was like going, I don't want to be here. 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 And so I ended up stuck, even though I graduated with a degree and a master's in 3D design, digital animation. I ended up just stuck there. And then this was the really crazy thing was I went to Liverpool because I got into parkour around the same time. The video game Assassin's Creed was coming out. And I was like, yeah. And it was freezing cold in England, so I'd walk around with a hoodie up, and people would be like, Tariq, do you know that Assassin's Creed game? Like, you look a little bit like the character. And I'm like, Assassin's Creed, what's that? So I look it up, and this character's name's Altair. My name is Tariq, so phonetically it sounds a little bit similar. And then I'm like, oh, he's born in Syria in the game. Like, I'm born next door in Jordan. And I'm like, wait, he has a Christian mother and a Muslim father? I have a Christian mother and a Muslim father. And then I listened to him speak, and the voice actor sounded exactly like me. Like, it was weird. It was like, I showed it to my mom and she was like, that sounds like you. But he was speaking a language of like the language that I speak today. He's like, it must be knowledge that frees them, not force. And, everything is, nothing is what it seems. Everything is permitted, and all of these things. And so I was like, is this like a virtual future version of myself? So I was like, I've got to start learning parkour, because that's the main difference between me and the game character. So I started learning parkour. Ended up meeting one of the world's best free runners who came to my university at the time, named Daniel Ilabaka, invites me to go to his birthday up in Liverpool. I end up standing up like Assassin's Creed style on top of a church, right? Looking down, ready to take that leap of faith. And then he was like, why is it scaring you so much? I was like, because I've never done a jump like this. He was like, well, what does this jump like represent for you? And I was like, man, it's a leap of faith. It would be like quitting my job. And in that moment, something clicked, and I was like, okay, that's it. The day that I jump off this roof, I'll quit my job. Thinking that day was like well into the future. I had no dream of like jumping off it then. But then after spending like a weekend with him and all these free runners running up walls and doing like the impossible, I was like, I wanted out of my mundane rat race type of existence so badly that we were back on the church roof on Sunday. And I just threw caution to the wind, and I ran and I jumped off the roof. And I'm in the air, and these moments kind of happen in slow motion, right? And so I see the ground coming at me, and I've been training a little bit. So I stuck my legs out, landed, rolled, stood back up, and realized I was fine. And I was like, oh my God, I've just quit my job. So I walked into work first thing the next day and resigned. Like, walked in, and they were like, where have you been? Because I'd called in sick for a couple of days in order to attend this birthday. And I was like, I quit. And then they were like, well, hey, let's talk about that pay raise. And because I was one of the top salespeople that they had. And I was like, it's too late. And I was carrying myself differently, right? This is the big moral for anybody watching this, right? I was still at PC World. I was still wearing the uniform, but I carried myself with a different energy after having made the leap of faith, walking around, feeling on top of the world. Customer asks me what I do. And I said, I'm an animator. And he was like, an animator? Well, why are you selling computers? I said, actually, I quit this morning. He said, are you any good? I said, I'll show you. So I logged onto a computer. 2 months prior, I had changed my password to I'm leaving soon. So multiple times a day, instead of I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here, I was typing, I'm leaving soon, I'm leaving soon, I'm leaving soon, I'm leaving soon. And that's when I got invited to the birthday, right? Synchronicity. Always, you can connect the dots in hindsight. And so I said, I'm an animator. I logged on, I'm leaving soon, showed him my show reel, and he hired me on the spot. So I quit my job selling computers at 9 a.m., got a job animating by noon. And that's when I was like, oh my God, the secret is real. The law of attraction, it's real, but you have to take the leap of faith first. So yeah, that changed the trajectory of my life. That's probably my most epic story.
Fuck yeah. I love it, man. I feel like I'm there. That's, well, Assassin's Creed is so fucking dope. People have never messed with it. Altair is the OG. I do love ATO as well in the later games. I was a hardcore gamer and I love those games. And they're deeply philosophic, and free running and parkour is also deeply philosophic, right? Because
It
it's
is.
about
It's been a huge,
degrees of freedom and how
it's been
you
a huge part of
navigate
my life.
reality, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, everything you just said, it sounds cliche if you're in the coaching or personal development bubble, manifestation, law of attraction, your thoughts create reality. Like we've all heard this a million times. If you're watching
Right.
this video, you've probably heard it a million times, but I love how you just grounded it into your own life and that story because it really does work. And it's a mind fuck when you're in it. But afterwards, as you said, in hindsight, you can actually see how your physiology, your emotion, and most importantly, the thought forms you're literally creating by your inner voice, your
Right.
vision, your parameters of reality, like what you think is the limit, what you tell yourself is what's possible. This stuff really does work. And I think, yeah, you're one of many. I have my own version of this where when you take a leap of faith, I mean, you took a literal leap of faith, but when you take a
Literally
leap of
jumped
faith,
off a church roof. Yeah.
right? I mean, that's amazing. So let's get straight into the good stuff here because
Sure.
I'm a geek for all things blockchain, Web3. Who is the first person that told you, I'm assuming about Bitcoin, but maybe not. When did you first hear about
Oh,
blockchain
man.
technology, period?
Still kicking myself over that. I was in Bali at the time, and it was, I think, yeah, 2009, and I heard about Bitcoin, and at that time, I didn't really have like $2 to rub together, so I was just like, oh, it's probably nothing, and kind of like talked myself out of it. Man, if I had only put like just $50 into it, $100 back in the day. I read the story the other day where somebody um, ordered a pizza or ordered two
Yeah.
pizzas with a like,
Infamous.
yeah, with a Bitcoin, and that's like, I don't know, what is it, like $20 million pizza or like something
Oh,
ridiculous.
more than that. From the top, that was like $150 million pizza or something.
Yeah, right. It better have been good. I bet it doesn't taste as good. I bet the aftertaste isn't nearly as good.
So you heard about it in 2009 because the white paper was published like in January of that year. So it would have been less than $1.
Right, right. But I never really like got into crypto. I never
Right.
got into any of this stuff. It's only really over the last 5 months that I was like, okay, I'm gonna get myself up to speed pronto.
Yeah.
And and then like just crazy stuff started aligning to make that happen, which makes me feel like it was kind of part of my dharmic path. Like I'm meant to be doing what I'm doing, because if my background was just like immersed in code and screens, then I bring one layer of consciousness, one outlook, one perspective. But coming from like a much more sort of analog version of the world, and then using technology to harness real world utility, right? To empower people in real ways, not just like make their virtual avatar, a little bit more upgraded with like a cooler skin or whatever, like actual real world utility. I think that's the exciting part, is using all of this blockchain infrastructure to improve our actual lives, not our digital representation of our life.
That's right. That's right. I mean, one of the amazing quotes is, Bitcoin is a peaceful revolution disguised as a Ponzi scheme or pyramid scheme. And even here, like if like David's commenting about, making money early, but now it's just like the stock market. Like this is not about price. And like, of course, like, price is cool if you're into trading or investing, and nothing we're going to say in this interview is financial advice, fair warning.
Absolutely.
That's cool and that's awesome. Like I've traded, I've dabbled, I invest. It's awesome. I can geek out on it. It is about the infrastructure and the technology. And for those that don't know, just super quickly, blockchain is very simple. It's just a new way to categorize, track, and transfer information. That's all it is. A ledger is basically just a way to show here is a thing, which we're digitally representing. NFTs are one way to do this, right? Tokens are a way to do this. And then what's amazing about blockchain, unlike previous ledgers, like your bank account, for example, in Europe or America or Australia, it's transparent. So anyone can see anything on the blockchain. It's immutable. So you can't go back and erase or delete the Excel file to be like, oops, we fucked up. Let's actually cover our tracks. Can't be changed. And it provides an ability of transposability, which basically just means the code is open source. It can be moved around and used in a way to actually empower folks that want to use it for good, right? And I'm
Mhm.
curious for you, Tariq, like what what has been the most exciting thing about your deep dive into it? Like, has it been NFTs? Has it been the art? Has it been more of the infrastructure community building side?
Yeah, so for me, the most exciting thing is to have decentralized economies where you are no longer at the mercy of algorithmic gatekeepers, tech giants, payment gateways. You are autonomous and you can function independently with your community and not have to go through all of these bottlenecks. Because essentially, like anybody who thinks they're browsing the internet right now, you're not. You're browsing a tiny sliver of the internet through the lens of Google. You're
Right.
browsing the internet through the lens of YouTube, which is then owned by Google. And then uh, most people's idea of the internet is social media. Social media is a very, very controlled format. That's why, for example, freedom of speech, nobody can stop you saying things out loud with your vocal cords. But the reason that they can on a platform is because it's a private organization that has its own policy. So they can police private platforms, but they can't control your actual voice. But we seem to forget that this is not reality, right? This is not our actual voice, and these things can be controlled. So I feel like, when everyone says like, oh, relax, it's under control, I'm like, that's the problem. We don't want things to be under control. We want things to be in our control. We want things to be out of control to some extent. And for me, it's the revolution of the decentralized economy, which means that creators, artists, musicians, thinkers, thought leaders, course creators, retreat holders, anybody who has some kind of creative output, any kind of endeavor, will be able to do it in a decentralized way where you're no longer having to go through banks and institutions and get a job slaving away for 40 years to then one day earn the right to be happy or have a pension. Like all of these archaic, fossilized ways of living, in my opinion, are being phased out. So technology is allowing a lot of key evolutions, especially for people who want to take life into their own hands.
Totally. And I mean, let's just talk about this one piece of what blockchain can do, and NFTs specifically, which are in their infancy, by the way.
Hmm.
95% of the NFT projects last year that your friend was texting you about are now at zero and
Right.
completely just crashed because they were based on cash grabs, or they had creative people, but they just didn't understand the business model and also didn't understand market cycles. So here's what's cool about NFTs, right? Right now, if you want to be a musician, does anyone know how many plays you need to get on Spotify per month to like pay your bills, your food, rent, etc.? It's a lot. And I forget someone did the math. You know, Spotify, for example, which is amazing. I support Spotify. I'm a subscriber. And Spotify, in terms of paying artists royalties per play or supporting an artist, it's just abysmal. If you're Lil Wayne, you might be making, 10K a month, probably way more. If you're an up and coming artist who's putting out, even if you're putting your heart and soul into it, you're going to getting like less than pennies on the dollar. It's like
Mhm.
0.0001. In the blockchain space, through non-fungible tokens, which is just a way to track digital ownership, digital property, whatever you want to name it, we don't have a middleman. It's one to one. It can be peer to peer. If I like your song and I click play on something like Audius or Sound.xyz, you're getting tokens directly into your wallet. There's not a middleman, and you can actually create a creator economy and create a context, a frame around your art. And that's why I think this is happening similar to the original Renaissance, right? The OG Renaissance after the bubonic plague. We have Corona come in, fuck up the global order. Everyone's like, whoa, things aren't what they thought they were. Lines in the sand are drawn. And now we're experiencing at the same time a technological renaissance because
Mm.
Web3 is now in its infancy. So I'm curious what you have to say about that.
Oh gosh, quite a lot. I think we're experiencing a consciousness renaissance also because what happened, whether intentionally or unintentionally, is, discomfort can often be the catalyst for awakening. And while many of us have maybe had years and years of personal development work to kind of rouse ourselves out of slumber gently, a lot of people have basically had the equivalent of a cold bucket poured over their head after a night passed out drunk. And
We've
so
had a rug pull, a
the
consciousness rug pull.
Yeah, just like kicked out of bed, fallen on the ground, slap your face on the hardwood. So what's happened actually is a lot of people who were forced to work from home suddenly realized, what? I can do my job from home? You mean I don't have to commute for 2 hours in traffic to sit at a desk to stare at another screen because I have a screen at home and I can do the same while being surrounded by my family, which triggered the Great Resignation. A lot of people were like, now you have to come back to work. And they were like, no, thanks, not doing it. Um, Another kind of trigger of that is what's known as the Great Dropout, where now a lot of people aren't going to university and getting degrees because they're like, well, why? I can go on YouTube, learn the skills, immediately get my content online, start, start my own economy, start my own business. And so the reason that like this has taken a big surge for me over the last 5 years, first of all, ever since I was little, I've always been passionate about being supported for being who we are. Like I remember being at school, teachers saying, what do you want to be when you're older? And I was like, I want to be me. They're like, well, no, do you want to be an engineer? Do you want to be a doctor or a lawyer? I was like, no, I just want to be me. They're like, well, what does me mean? And I was like, it means doing everything that I love, but being way better at it. And that was just not an acceptable answer, right? And so now I feel like technology has caught up where it actually allows people to do that. So in the last few months, I became the chief creative officer for StarStake, and StarStake allows the creation of independent creator economies. So you can create NFTs that allow access, like backstage passes or VIP days or memberships or access to a physical venue or whatever kind of access you want, either to a digital product or a physical product. You can even do e-commerce on the blockchain through it. You also have SNFTs, which allow staking, which basically means like, hey, I really like this up and coming artist. I want to support them. The artist can create several packages. You're like, wow, I see the trajectory that this person's on. They're going to be a mega hit in a couple of years. I'm going to stake. And maybe like the minimum stake is like $100, but you can stake 2,000 and therefore have more of the stake, right? Have more pieces of the pie as they start to succeed. So you're supporting their rise to stardom, and then you are getting financially rewarded for supporting them. So that creates symbiosis. It creates collaborative and community powered commerce, which is a different model. I think right now we're seeing social media, but now that's evolving into a social marketplace, right? Social media is known for interaction. Web 3.0 decentralization and what StarStake does, it'll be known for transaction. So instead of just interacting, you're transacting. You're supporting people that you love, getting behind initiatives and things like that that you believe in. And then you can also mint your own money. So you can create the world's first price stabilized NFT art that's now backed and price stabilized. So let's say, for example, you make $100 bill, it's going to be $100. It's not going to drop to zero like other NFTs. And you can have like a market price. So maybe you have like an ultra rare, super collectible one and like a Babe Ruth, right? And that's $2,000, but the cash value is $200. So there's all kinds of really cool things emerging right now. It's going to it's a huge industry disruptor, which is why I'm so passionate about it.
100%. And I think a lot of people, even I saw someone earlier, like, what is Web3? What are NFTs? The biggest barrier to this, and this was me 2 years ago, even though I was very familiar and had been trading Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the early stuff, it's just education. You have to inform yourself. And you have to do your own research. You're going to have to get on Google and YouTube and spend a couple hours just digesting the basic levels. And that's a really good place to start. Gary Vaynerchuk is doing a fucking ton for this. He has amazing videos. I would actually recommend him to people who are like not super tech savvy because he explains it in basic language. The Bankless podcast is another place. They're a little more technical, but those guys are legends and we'll break it all down. But long story short, like what you just said about the artist piece and staking, this is huge. Imagine you knew, Kurt Cobain and Nirvana when they were still playing like garage level shows.
Right.
And you're like, whoa, these guys are dope. I'm not just gonna buy beer when I go see them play. I want to invest in y'all, kind of like venture capital. Like, hey, here's $100. I know it's early. Maybe you guys need a new amp. And then those guys explode over the next 5-10 years. Now you have a fractionalized piece of the stake, which what the blockchain does really well is track that and share that in an anonymous open source way where everybody can see, oh, wow, like, Kev or Tariq was one of the first people that invest in this up and coming artist. So this is the power of blockchain, is it's decentralizing venture capital. It's decentralizing finance itself. So people who don't even have bank accounts with a smartphone and a crypto wallet can receive and give microloans. They can do this staking activity. So like the centralized model of just like only these artists, only these investors, only these companies get to use these power tools. Now we're opening it up to the people. It's very Promethean, right? It's Promethean technology. It's like, here's the flame.
Fire to the people.
Now everybody has it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And you know, for anybody watching right now, just know, like, I didn't necessarily understand the blockchain 5 months ago, right? And I can say that like with my hands up. So I can explain to you really, really quickly. So basically, the blockchain is not the internet. You needed the internet in order to have the blockchain because you need computers that are connected to one another. But the blockchain is essentially, if you imagine blocks of data, and every time there's a transaction, a new block of data is created, and that new block of data contains a summary of the block of data that was created before it. So they're all linked in a chain. So if you want to try and retroactively change one, you'd have to change all of the ones that contain all of the summaries of the blocks before. And that's what makes it immutable. That's what makes it like virtually incorruptible. You have a bunch of computers on a network, and when there's a consensus, meaning like 50, 70, or 51 to like 70 to 80% of those computers say that this transaction happened at this time, then that's recorded on that ledger. And that ledger is basically just a record. Imagine, but see, this is the thing, like banks right now, they have a centralized ledger. Imagine asking your bank to show you their books.
Right.
They're not going to do it.
It's never going to happen.
And that's why you have all of these crazy like financial issues happening. Like, did you choose to bail out the banks in 2008? Probably not, right? Did you vote for that? So with the transparency of an open ledger, it kind of removes all of that from happening. And so that's the blockchain in a nutshell, right? And then NFTs is basically like a digital verifiable ownership that you have something. So it's kind of like, you know, you go to the gym, you have a gym card, right? The gym card itself is kind of cool, might look cool, whatever, right? That's your artwork. But the most important thing about the gym card is it shows that you are a member of the gym. Now, if your gym card has other utility, maybe it has access to like the steam room and sauna or personal training sessions. Now you have all that utility built into your gym card. So imagine a virtual gym card on your phone. That's kind of what an NFT is, right? And when people say like, oh, but I could just take a picture of your picture. Right. I mean, I could screenshot my bank account and send it to you. Doesn't mean that you have the funds. You just have a screenshot. And the person who actually has the verifiable one that's written in the ledger on the blockchain, they're the ones who will have access to whatever comes with that NFT. So that's what an NFT is. And, you know, I've had to find ways of simplifying this complex technology, right? Like Web 1.0 was read, meaning you could go online and you could read stuff. You could read articles, it was kind of like an online library. That's what people thought the internet was. And then you have Web 2.0, which is read and write, which is the era of social media. I can read and consume stuff, and I can add to it. I can contribute. Web 3.0 is read, write, and own, or read, write, and participate. And now Web 3.0 allows you to own parts of things. So imagine like a video game comes out, and instead of just playing the game, you can own a part of the game. And then if someone builds something on the part of the game that you own, you get paid royalties. You get paid in tokens, which you can then exchange for like a USDC and put into your bank account and use to go buy your groceries. And actually, I think it was in Rwanda, like over the course of the pandemic, a lot of people were out of jobs, but you have this play to earn games like Axie Infinity and things like that. And they were earning all of these tokens in the game, trading it for USDC, and then basically quadrupling what would have been their salary. So this is all very like, this is happening now, and it's a great time to get up to speed. Don't be daunted by it. Just start diving in, dip your toe in the water. Before you know it, you'll be swimming.
100%. Just like when someone's like, hey, I'll send you an email. And they're like, the fuck is an email? My paper mail in my mailbox is fine. What are you talking about? Or like, hey, like, actually our business is moving to a website. Website? These brochures are doing fine. Why do we need a website? You know, it's like, Gary Vee has a great riff. It's like the people who are shitting on crypto and NFTs and blockchain right now sound like their mom when they first were like on AOL Instant Messenger, and their mom was like, you know, go play outside. This technology's silly. It'll never take on.
Yeah.
And it's just what's crazy is technology is moving so fast now. You know, I'm about to be 33 this month. So I was born before, you know, dial-up internet and before cell phones, but I lived to see like the whole wave pretty much in
Mm.
my lifetime. And I'm sure people that are 20, 30, 40 years older than me are like even more mind blown. In my lifetime, in our lifetime, I'm assuming we're in the similar age range, there is Moore's law, which basically determines how fast processing power and computers grow, which is exponential.
Hmm.
It's so fast that even since the pandemic started, let's
Right.
go back to like 2019, Q3, Q4, the tech space and the web space is completely different. It's like a decade of innovation has happened. A, because everyone was like, fuck, we can't leave our homes or we have to change how we work, which actually provided a melting pot of innovation. It's no coincidence that a huge bull market and innovation wave happened
Right.
in Web3 while this global, you know,
Yeah.
crisis of whatever is happening. And this is the part that I think people don't realize, specifically about NFTs. Anything that's based on contracts or certificates will be NFTs in 10 years. Your
Yeah.
real estate deed, your marriage license, your
Totally.
birth certificate, your passport, all of it will be on the blockchain, not because it's cool and hip, not because of hype, but because it literally solves the problem of who owns what and how do we verify that or transact with it in a better way. And that's why banks all over the world, Barclays, Bank of America, you know, they might have shit on it a few years ago. They're all researching it. They're all developing their own. And you know, there's the central bank digital currencies, which I'm concerned about. I don't think that that's actually going to be the way to go. I'm on the decentralized side, which I'm assuming you are as well.
Yeah. Well,
I'd
you know
love for
what
you to
this,
riff on that a little bit. Like, why is decentralization itself important?
well, because I mean, what we need to, I think, first get to grips with is whether you talk about digital technology or just technology in general. Like technology is anything. Like your toothbrush is a technology, right? Otherwise, you'd have to get like sticks and twigs and try and get, you know, things out of your teeth. So everything is a technology. Nature is a technology. So when we look at it through a much broader lens, a much more encompassing perspective, the world has been going decentralized for a long time, right? First, you had to hail a cab from a recognized taxi rank, and then you have Uber. Suddenly, anybody with a driving license can drive you. That's a decentralization. First, you'd have to like go get a degree or diploma at a university physically there. And then you have open universities, online universities. Now you can get a degree from anywhere in the world. That's decentralization. Before, you had to like go into a physical store to buy something, and then you could go online, buy something from anywhere in the world. Decentralization. You had people who were very like guarded over their software, and then you start having open source software. It's like, hey, here's the code as far as I got it. Stand on my shoulders and let's see how far you can take it next. Again, decentralization. So there's been a move, and I think it's an echo of consciousness. Consciousness has become less about me and more about we, right? Less ego, more we go. And as consciousness moves in that direction, technology, everything else that outpictures as a manifestation of our internal state will shift to match that. So technology right now is a representation of where our consciousness is. And that's why I think it's so important that consciousness and more like compassionate consciousness and kindness and empathy grow proportionately with technology. Otherwise, you get dystopia. Otherwise, you get
Right.
technocracy. And so it's important that compassion and empathy march at least as fast as technological innovation. So that's going to be a very interesting kind of crux nexus point that we're going to see over the coming years. Right now, decentralization is the way that everything is moving. And so first get to grips with decentralization as a theme, because it basically means power back to the people. It means no longer a small controlling group that dictate what is going to be the case for everyone else. Decentralization allows a much, much freer, much more equal opportunities marketplace. And that's what I think banks are scared of. That's why you have a centralized bank dollar coin or whatever it is, right? The CBDC, which basically is programmable money, by the way. So just, you know, you heard
Right.
it here first. They can control what you can spend that money on. So like, let's say, for example, they don't want you eating too many you know, vegetables and whole foods and organic foods, they could say, well, you've hit your quota of organic food. Now you can only buy fast food, and your money will not work on anything other than fast food. I personally, I'm not a big fan of that, right? So, and of course, right now you hear a lot of institutions saying like, oh, how it's so dangerous, you know, cryptography and cryptographic currencies and everything like that. Everything digital is bad. Don't do it. Why? Because they know that their control is being dissolved, and they're
Right.
trying to claw desperately to hold on to it. But I don't think they can. I think we're well past the saturation point.
Yeah, I agree. And the wise among these folks that, you know, own all the media companies, all the manufacturing, you know, I don't think they're all just like evil psychopaths. I mean, certainly some of them have demonstrated that that's basically what they are, but some of them are really wise and they want to get ahead of the curve. And, you know, to the point of evolution itself, which I see as like a natural law or force, you know, it's not like, oh, like this is all random and it's all random incremental change. No, like evolution is sentient. Life is alive. You know, it's like Awa in Avatar, you know, like Awa is listening. Like Awa is the sum total of life force.
Right.
And it's moving in a direction. And this is the direction. You can agree with it. You can try to swim upstream. You can fight it, or you can put its momentum in your corner. And I think a lot of people are going to have to come to terms with that. And it doesn't mean we need to be on our screens or in VR headsets or like, you know, fucked up in some dystopian metaverse. But it does mean that we're going to have to reconsider a lot of things. I don't know if you've gotten into Balaji's The Network State. This is a book that just came out. It's free online. It's
I've heard
incredible. You would geek out.
Yeah, I heard you, I think, mention it on one of your last podcasts, and I was like, oh, mental note, The Network State. Yeah, I want to read it. I've just been so like busy getting this platform launched.
Totally. I'll send it to you after this, and it's something I recommend for everyone. It's all available free. He's open sourced it, which is amazing because he worked for A16Z, one of the top VC firms, and also for Coinbase. But he's going off on his own. But anyway, in the network state, the thesis is basically, you know, nation states, centralized, deception-based, zero-sum warfare is at an end. Like we actually now, you know, we can live anywhere in the world. You can be in Europe, I can be in Bali, someone else can be in California, someone else can be in, you know, Antarctica. And we can, through nodes on the blockchain, coordinate resources, community, and even our morals or our values, right? We can basically create our own constitution and, you know, mint it on the blockchain and then create a consensus mechanism. And we have to rethink governance. We have to rethink the state, and we have to rethink the economy. And so I really, for one, want to see a creator economy that's based on benevolent attention, not racing down the brainstem and like the social dilemma type, like hacking your attention. I want to see like people like you and I, people we know and love in our circles that are creating amazing art, helping people at a high level, and, you know, pro consciousness, pro life in terms of evolution. I want to see them get paid the most and get the most attention online, right?
Yeah, we're building it. It's literally a month away from being launched, and it's
amazing.
I mean, the founder, Chris Hawk, he was on stage with Gary Vee, and so Gary Vee said that the technology that StarState can do now is 12 months to 24 months in the future, but it can already do it now. You can basically have built-in smart contracts at scale with all of the royalties and rewards and everything being distributed for you, and you don't need to write a single line of code. It's as easy as uploading pictures and text onto social media, which means a 10-year-old could do it. So right now, mark my words, right? For anybody watching this, mark my words. Today, you have like kids, content creators saying like, I want to be a YouTuber. Give it a year, 2 years maximum, though I think it'll happen way sooner than that. They'll be saying, I want to be a star staker.
That's fucking epic, man. We'll have that link. And if you post that in the comments after this, that'd be amazing. Because I definitely want to check it out. I've heard you speak about it, but I haven't actually gone and like read the white paper or looked at what y'all are doing.
It's been a media silence. It's been a media silence because the features are so groundbreaking. Wanted to kind of keep them quiet until it was almost time to launch. So now you're going to start seeing a lot more media come out.
Okay, right on. Did you get into DeSo? It was first BitClout, like decentralized social. Did you ever check that out?
I've heard of it, but I haven't checked it out.
Yeah, so it was a cool like first case. Like I jumped in right when it started. It was like beginning of last year. It's when like first big NFT wave was happening. And basically it's like Twitter or Patreon had a
Hmm.
baby on blockchain. So like if you made an account, you would have your own token that's based on your name. And when people upvote you, they can, if you get enough upvotes, you're getting tokens into your wallet. Or they could give you like kind of a super upvote or like, which is like a diamond, which is, and it was a cool idea. I don't use it anymore. I use it for a while, but all social media is going to move towards this. And I'm sure Meta, Google, who own all the platforms, which are all competing with TikTok now, right? But they'll all have their own chains. All social media will happen on chain within, 6, 12, 18 months from now. I would hope.
Yeah, I reckon it will. You just have to be careful what chain you're on, because some
That's
chains
right.
are going to chain you, some chains are going to unchain you, and it's going to
That's
be
it.
about discernment and knowing who's behind it. Like for example, TikTok, there's a huge surveillance kind of network behind it called ByteDance, which is mining data like crazy off that, and
Right.
not only when you're on TikTok, but across all your applications and all your devices. It's nuts.
It is crazy. The surveillance level of big tech is unprecedented, and I think we are in something like an arms race or evolutionary race between, like you said, consciousness and the wisdom and the compassion to wield the technology versus the folks that are bad actors or they're in bad faith and they
Hmm.
want to exploit technology. And so there is kind of this neck and neck thing happens. Obviously, I think life wins. I'm an optimist, but you got to be careful out there. You got to have big time discernment.
Yeah, awareness and discernment. Those are probably the most valuable currencies right now.
Yes, I. Well, brother, I mean, as we wrap up here, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to share, or anything that's really alive in your world?
Right now, I've just been like fully immersed in the creative process of making sure that this platform is as groundbreaking as it can be and making it as accessible and usable as possible. Because I really see this like changing things. Like people won't need jobs anymore, right? They'll just be able to find people who love what they do, and those people will have a stake in their success. And you could be like, from a talent scout perspective, you could go on StarStake and see all the up and coming talent and go, wow, this person's gonna is gonna blow up in 3 years. Like, I want to be part of that from now. Like you said, Nirvana. Imagine if Kurt Cobain had NFTs, or even just like decided to go like, you know what? I have this song I'm writing called "Smells Like Teen Spirit." I'm going to give 10% to everybody who holds the NFT for that. Like, how huge would that be, right? So this is the kind of stuff that's now possible, and you can create the most advanced NFTs in minutes, like literally in minutes. It's crazy. So I'm super excited to see what creators do with this. This is going to be really, really fun. So there's like there's a whole space theme with it, right? So it feels like you're going on a space voyage. And so there's an onboarding called Astra, which goes live in about a week. And yeah, that'll be the thing to look out for. Like, get yourself on Astra so that you can, get to the front of the line and access Creator Hub, which is basically like a creative suite, like think an Adobe Creative Suite, but for creating NFTs. It's going to be, there's just nothing like it. Yeah, it's super fun.
Awesome, man. I'm gonna check that out ASAP. Is there an email list or something you can sign up for?
Yeah, so as soon as the Astra page goes live, then there will be, because that's what you'll
Okay.
go to enter your email, and then you'll have, different things to unlock different perks and things like that. It's gonna be fun.
Right on. So we're a week out, so this is exciting. I'm definitely going to be checking this out. And
A week out from Astra and about a month to a month and a half from StarStake launching in earnest. Yeah.
sweet, sweet. Well, brother, thank you so much for coming on. This has been great. This will go on my YouTube channel as well. And if you're watching this later, type in replay, tag somebody, share this video if it's been of value to you, and make sure you follow this man if you don't already. And yeah, I'm excited for the decentralized future. I think this decade, the 2020s, will be, looked back on as one of the most pivotal, like quantum jumps humanity ever made, even with all the chaos and the suffering and the pain,
Yeah.
which we're not negating, it's there.
Mm.
And the sum total impact will be creative. It will be, holy shit, we turned a corner
I
as a
think
species.
I think that like the main sort of power message in that is that adversity is actually a catalyst for a better future. Because let's say, for example, your health is failing you, that's when you start looking into supplements, trying to figure out why your energy is low. If everything is kind of like teetering on normal or just above, you don't look into that stuff. It's only when you have that adversity, right? Necessity is the mother of invention. So sometimes we need that necessity to invent. And I think rightfully said that during this decade, especially the technologies that are being created now and the solutions that are being created now are a response to that adversity. So we're going to see
Right.
an exponential jump over the already exponential curve. So you have an exponential curve like this, but you're going to see an extra jump because of that adversity. It's going to be a catalyst.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right there with you. So don't run from adversity. That's the other side of that, is like
Right.
embrace it, move through it. The way out is through. You don't actually gain a lot, especially if you want to be creative and be innovative, if you try to like block it or like subdue it, right? You have to actually open your heart up to it. And
Lean into
obviously,
it
yeah, with discernment, always
with
with
discernment.
discernment. Don't put yourself in a terrible situation for no reason. All right, family and brother, thank you so much.
All right,
Appreciate
Kevin.
you. And
Likewise.
yeah, let's get it.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone.